Now let's discuss about DDL, data definition language. In SQL, if you want to comment, you have to keep double dashes. Okay. In Python, we use the hash, right? Same way, if you want to comment something in SQL, you have to use the double hyphen. So first, if you want to check the databases in your system, the query is show databases. Always you have to put this colon at the end. That means it's end of the query. Okay, it's not mandatory, but it is recommended. If you want to execute the query, you should click on this one just after this. So now I have these many databases in my system, in my SQL server. So let's create something new. Okay, create database. Let's say I'm just keeping as July batch. Now if you execute this, now we also got July batch. You see that new database is created. You just have to provide the name. That will tell you this is to list all the data bases. Now your database is also ready. Let me save this file. First we will understand what is SQL, how we read the data. Then we will understand how we connect this SQL into Python. Okay, so don't worry about that, how to connect to Python, how we do all this reading, updating from Python, that we will cover. But let's understand how this database works, how we actually write the SQL queries. First SQL separately, then we will cover including Python. Now we have the database ready. Now let's create the table. Now we are actually creating a table which can have actual data. So create table. Now we are creating some table. Okay, let's say employee is the table. Employee. Then table should have some kind of table, is like your Excel sheet. Okay, your Excel sheet, you are writing something, right? Let's say you are creating student names, some name you create, right? Then let's say birthplace or something. So you should know, someone should know what is Abdul, what is Trian, right? So what we do, we create a header, right? Name, birthplace, right? So these are nothing but columns in Excel, right? The same way in RDBMS also a table should have the columns. So now first we are defining a structure of a table. What columns my table should have? First we define a structure of the table, then we can start adding the data. So now we are at only in the columns. Which columns we want to create for our table? That's what we should create here. Columns. Okay. I'm creating name. This is there are some columns, you can leave it as optional. For example, what is that? Middle name, right? Middle name not everyone can have. So this is something you should keep it as optional. If somebody is having the middle name, they will keep. Otherwise they can leave it. Leaving something in RDBMS means you are allowing the null value. Okay. How we have seen none in Python, right? It means nothing. Exactly, null means nothing in SQL. So while defining each column, we should also tell Python whether you are allowing nulls or not. If you are not allowing null, every record should have value there. For example, name, right? Everyone will have a name. So here we should not allow nulls. But in the middle name, we should allow the nulls because not everyone can have. So let's say now we are keeping first name, okay, not null. We should also define what is the data type of it. What kind of data type it is. So the data types we have is not string. What is that? Char. So you have to, this is equivalent to our string in Python. In SQL we have to tell what is the length. What is the length you need for this column? What is the maximum length? Let's say I am giving 20. 20 is the maximum length. First we have to keep char, then not null, then comma. Next let's say middle name char 20 null. We are allowing the null values. Next last name char 20 not null. Last name also should be mandatory. Next what we say, first name, middle name, last name. Let's say location. Location is also mandatory, so we are keeping 20. Let's say not null. Not null means we are not allowing the nulls. What else we can keep? So we need to have employee ID, right? So let's have employee ID. Employee ID is number, right? So integer, then not null. I should keep this colon at the end. So these are the columns I want, but we should not keep this. I just kept this for our understanding. We have to use create table employee. This is the table name where this will be created. Okay, so you should know where you are creating this employee. So before that we should ensure that we are inside this July batch. You can assume it as our virtual environment. Okay, only if you are inside that virtual environment you will be able to use all those packages, right? Some kind of something exactly like that. Until you activate that database, you are not actually doing something in that database. So how to activate that? Use database. Okay, the syntax is same, use July underscore batch. This is how you can activate one DB. You can see at the bottom it's green mark, that means it has been completed. Now your database is active. You are inside the July batch now. So whatever you do now, everything will be inside that particular database. Now we are creating a table, employee, first name, middle name, last name, location, employee ID. Okay, so now let's execute this. We see we got green mark. Now let's check show tables. What tables we have? We have only one table that we just created, employee. This is how you can check list tables. How many tables we have under any database. Now table is created. This is how we can create a table. While creating table, there are other things you can do. So first, let's understand the data types. Okay, we have seen char and int, right? So like that, what are the data types we have? Char n, it is equal to our string. N is the length, maximum length. Next is varchar. It is also like string only. What is varchar is, it's a variable character. So in the character you are providing n, right? Here also we provide n, but the difference between char and varchar is, here irrespective of your data length, there will be space created for n bytes. Memory for n. So whatever maximum length you are giving, the memory is created for that length. But in the varchar, based on your actual data, it will change the memory. Let's say you are having first name length is 20, right? But your name is of only 4 characters. It will actually consume only memory for those 4 characters, not for 20. That is the benefit of varchar. So it will have two things inside that, length and data. What is the length? Length of your actual data. Data is your actual data. Varchar will store two things. Okay, behind the scene. You will not know difference between these two. Okay, but behind the scene, how it works is this. It will have two things, length and data. Next, int. Okay, not only int, there are big int is also there. Int, big int difference is the maximum values you can store in that column. So int will allow up to some value which I don't remember. Let's see. SQL int and big int. It's just the maximum value we can add. Difference between int and big int. 2 to the power of 16 or something. That is the maximum value we can use. Okay, int 2 to the power of 31. That is the minimum value. This is the maximum value you can store. Big int, it's a 4 bytes one integer. This is 8 bytes one. So here you can use till 2 to the power of 63. Based on your data size, you can use whether int or big int, but everything is for integer. Then we have decimal. Okay, in the decimal we have to provide two things. One is total length, then second one is how many decimals. Okay, so what is t here? T is total length. Let's say I want to keep 10 length 10 for my decimal number. What is d? How many decimals I want to keep in my number? Let's say I am keeping 2. So here inside 10 only you are giving 2 for decimals. So what is remaining? Only 8 remaining. This is very important with respect to the decimal. Don't get confused. After 10 decimals we will have 2. No, that's wrong. 10 is the total length. Inside 10 you are giving 2 for decimals. So remaining only 8 there, that is before your decimal. This is very important. Okay, and apart from this we have date, time types in SQL. So there are special types available in SQL: date types, time types. Then we have primary key. Primary key is the integer which will be created by SQL automatically. auto created. You can also have it auto created, or if you want to insert manually you can do. Okay, so anything is possible. These are the different type of see, primary key is not a data type. Okay, you can have it is integer only, it's not something new. Primary key is nothing but integer, but when you are defining primary key, it behaves in different way, which we will see. Okay, next let's see how we can use other data types. I want to close this. I am creating one more table called salary. Just assume. Okay, so we have employee ID, right? Employee ID will be remains here, so integer, not null. Next, let's say I am giving salary. So this time I should go with decimal. I have to give what is the maximum length and how many decimals. So I am giving 20 as the maximum length, and I am giving 2. I am not allowing nulls here. Okay, so let's say something called competency. Competency is which kind of competency? Okay, like which category? I am keeping not null. Next, let's say some date we will keep. Created at. I can keep date, time. So this is the a special data type we have in SQL. We don't have this in Python. Okay, date and time. So we are just creating the timestamp time when we are adding this entry in the table. So I'm just saying salary, employee ID, salary, competency, created at. I'm just deleting the last one. Now we have created one more table, salary. If you see sort tables, you will have two, employee and salary. Now let's start adding the data. Okay, so the adding data actually comes in DML. Okay, because we are playing with the data now. So in the DML, insert, add or insert data into table. So how we add the data? Insert into which table? I am saying employee. Then columns. If you want, you can specify the columns. Okay, what are the columns we have? First name, comma middle name, comma last name, location and employee ID. Then what are the values you are adding for all these fields? Okay, Abdul, then I am not giving anything, then column, then Tamil Nadu, then I am giving 1. Columns, values, which insert into employee. Why it's showing this error? Table values. Okay, yeah, we are not adding anything for, let's say, middle name, right? I can just remove this. Okay, let's execute this and see what happens. So before this, how can you check, you know, the data from a table? Read data from a table. If you want to just check the data from a table, you have to do select star. Star means all the columns from table name. This is what the SQL query you should write. To read all the data, star means all the columns and all the data. See, now nothing is there. First name, middle name, last name, location. We don't have any data. Okay, I just wanted to show this before I insert anything. Now we are inserting one value. Now insertion successful. Now let's go and see the data. You see, now we have Abdul. Middle name is null. We have not added any value. Kalam, Tamil Nadu and 1. So like that you can add multiple values. Okay, so this part is optional. Okay, suppose if you are providing values for all the columns, you can remove this, but here we are not providing value for middle name, right? That's why we have to provide which columns and what are the corresponding values. Okay, now let's see another SQL query without that. I am just deleting this. Okay, so I am just adding everything. Mohandas, Karan Chand, then I am just giving last name also. I don't know where is Mahatma Gandhi birthplace. I think Maharashtra, right? It's, what is it? Maharashtra only, right?
Yeah, Portland.
Okay. So now we are adding. I have to add with 2 because 1 is already there. So employee ID should be unique, right? So let's add this. Added. Let's check the data. Now you see, for Mahatma Gandhi we had middle name. So here I have not provided the column names. You can skip the column names if you are inserting data for all the columns. And if you are inserting data for only specific columns, we have to mention like this. We have seen how to create a table, how to add the data, then how to read the data. Okay, at least one end to end how we take the data. These things we have seen. Now what else? Imagine, okay, I'm adding one more entry. Let's say employee the boss, I think Bengal, right? I don't know exactly, but let's keep it like that. Now I am adding the one more record with 2. Okay, let's see what will happen. There is no error, it was inserted. Let's see the data, it is added. But ideally 2 employees cannot have same employee ID, right? There should be some kind of restriction, otherwise we will have these kind of duplicates. That shouldn't be allowed, right? That's where we need to have some kind of check here, some kind of uniqueness. Okay, so unique. If you just add this unique when you are creating the table, it will not allow the duplicates for this column. Now we have already defined our table. Okay, now what we have to delete the table and recreate it, then only it is possible, otherwise it is not possible. Drop table employee. I'm just dropping the table so that I can recreate it. My table is gone. If you try to now retrieve the data, you will get error. You see that error, table does not exist. So let's create the table again. How? Executing this time we are adding unique. I'm just creating the table created. I am just first I will insert these two. Okay, so both two queries executed. Let's see the data now. We have the data Abdul Kalam Tamil Nadu. Now let's try to add this last one with 2 again. You see now there is error, duplicate entry 2 for key. So it is saying there is already one entry with 2 and you can't really have the duplicate entry. So that's how we can restrict using this unique keyword. Okay, if you give 3, now it will work without any issue. Now let's see. Yeah, you got all this 3. So apart from unique, there is one more way. Okay, so I am just dropping my table. I am just coming here. Yeah, instead of this, what is that? Primary key. I am just telling this is my primary key. Okay, even this is one more way to restrict any duplicates coming into your table. So I am just adding these 2 now. Check the data, we have 2. Now let me try add with 2 again. Insert into employee, and you see duplicate 2 for employee.primary. Now it says it's a primary key. What is a primary key? It's a unique ID. Okay, the table will have a key, which will be unique for each entry in the table. For every record in the table, the primary key should be unique. You can't have duplicate values. So one table can have only one primary key. Primary key of more than one column. Only one primary key allowed for a table. It can be of single or multiple columns. Primary key is only one, but you can have more than one column in one primary key. Next, unique columns. Unique is allowed on multiple columns. It's not like only one, you can have multiple also, but primary key is only one. And one last thing we will see, then we will close for today. So in case of primary key, let's say you don't want to add every time what is the next ID. Now we have items only till 3. next record I should add 4. So all these things we can't do manually, right? So there is an option to auto create the employee ID. It is what? Auto increment. So your SQL will itself take care when you are adding new data. Your SQL itself will take care. Okay, it will start creating from 1, it will keep incrementing as soon as you are adding new data. That is what this primary key auto increment. Primary key auto increment you can use to auto increment this. Okay, and here it is just unique. I just dropped my table, right? So I'm just creating it again. Table is created. Now I shouldn't give this employee ID. The reason, it is auto incremented, right? So now since I am not giving data for all my columns, I have to add this. Middle name and location. Now you don't need to give all this. So let's try adding first these two and see what happens. Let's check the data now. You see we got employee ID 1, 2 generated automatically. We didn't give anything. Let's try adding third one, and I am not giving columns, and let's see what is going to happen. Column count does not match with value at count row 1. So basically you are trying to insert data for all the columns, but you are giving data for only 4 columns, right? That's why this is always important when you are skipping some columns. Execute it. You see now data is added, and you check the table. Now 1, 2, 3. So this is how in real time the primary keys are maintained. It will be auto. It's not like somebody is going to give the primary key. No. And auto key, right? Auto increment. It need not to start at 1. Okay, you can start at 10,000. Okay, some number also you can start. Okay, now I am adding this auto increment to 1000. Now let's add the record. Okay, let's now check the data in the table. You see it started from 1000 now, because we have set the auto increment to 1000.